One of the benefits of having a live show is that we can discuss current events, and so I would like to incorporate something that does tie into this, but is a little bit off the beaten path to a certain degree, and is a little bit more political than metaphysical, but nonetheless, that being the case, if people would consider what's going on lately in the news, and that is basically we're getting a lot of more lately. We're getting a lot more reports of the idea of the terrorist attack, not a matter of if but when. Now that's the mantra they used before September 11th. They told us over and over again, and it has been hammered home, hammered home, hammered home. Not a terrorist attack, not a matter of if but when. They're coming through that all over again. Now that has a lot to do with the fact that public consciousness, and I spoke about this previously as well, public consciousness is coming to the point where people are aware of things, and things underneath are becoming more readily apparent to the average person. And so that being the case, things are unraveling and unfolding much quicker than they would have in previous times. And so the time factor that it took for general public to be aware of what took place with Oklahoma or Waco, for instance, it took some time. It took years, really, with the World Trade Center tower and people inquiring as to what really took place in that instance. That amount of time is much shorter. That has only taken us, relatively speaking, about 9 months. And we can see there is a hastening of consciousness, of understanding, and things cannot lie dormant and hidden in the respect that they used to be able to. Things are coming out more so and more so now. And you see this concentrated effort to spin the prior knowledge, all of these FBI memos that came out that, oh, there was prior knowledge, that they knew what was going on to a certain degree, but, oh, they were too general, so we really couldn't act upon them, and so that's how this attack took place. So they're telling us now that we have Homeland Security in place, now that we have all of these new workings in place, implemented, to supposedly have this information sharing that's going to prevent these kind of attacks, and to allow us to be more aware, and allow the citizenry to be aware, and allow all levels to be aware. Supposedly, all these things are in place now, but yet, still we hear another terrorist attack, not a matter of if, but when. Oh, it's inevitable. Now, certainly, even the dullest, most unaware person has to start thinking at a certain point, okay, wait a minute, we've given up our liberties for security, we've given up our rights, we've made the concessions so that we can protect ourselves, so that we can do what it takes to bring in added security, peace of mind, so that we can live secure lives in this country. We've done all these things, and we've so far gone along with this whole ideology. For them to implement all these things and then tell us on top of that that we're still going to have a further attack, that we're still for sure going to be subjected to an even larger attack. Now, the head has been cut off of so-called Taliban and Al-Qaeda, supposedly. The leadership aspect is no longer functioning, supposedly. But yet they're still able to work in at such a level internationally that they're able to still prop up a legitimate threat to our country in this incapacitated state. Now, how can that possibly be? How can it possibly be that these factions, as limited now as they are, and as disorganized apparently as they supposedly are, how can they still have this organizational facility at such a level that they're able to implement such a vast attack that's going to be carried out here in our country, on our soil, not a matter of if, but when, as Cheney would tell us and as so many would tell us. Now, how is it that this ragtag bunch is able to be so well organized that they're going to still carry out further attacks? If we have all this stuff in place, this Homeland Security and all of our intelligence feelers are working together finally, supposedly, then certainly we have to be on top of all of this activity, and we have to know what Al-Qaeda is planning and what's going on behind the scenes. And that begs the question, ultimately, who are the real terrorists? Now, right now, certainly we have, wrangling for position at the forefront, we have an information war and we have a war on terrorism. We have, in essence, enlightenment versus enfrightenment. Now, the plans are obviously unraveling for those that are planning these terrorist attacks because they're feeling obligated to now. First of all, they did a quick little spin on the FBI memos and what have you, and then they kicked that out of the mainstream as quickly as possible. So I don't think we're going to see much more little pockets here and there, but an overall mainstream mass report on these FBI memos. That's going to fade from the scene, and in its place, we're going to have more of this psychological conditioning that's going to keep us conditioned that, oh, there's going to be another attack coming down the pike. Get ready for it, get ready for it. Condition yourselves, be prepared. Another attack's coming. I saw a gentleman on the news today speaking that it's very important now to psychologically condition the American people to be ready for attacks, for more attacks. Whether they happen or not is beside the point. It's the conditioning, the psychological conditioning that is very important to those behind the scenes. Again, openly admitting it on the news, just goes to show you how much there is going on that certain factions are aware of. Now, certainly, there cannot be this certainty of attack if we've already got all of these homeland security things in effect. I mean, how can that be? That does not make any sense. Then we really have really poor quality homeland security and all these other things if that is indeed the case. So that's just some food for thoughts for public perusal to consider. Again, they're telling us, no matter how much security we give up, how many liberties we give up for perceived security, we're still going to get attacked. So why give up any? Why give up one single small liberty? Why give up anything if they can't provide security? Now, this gentleman was concerned that only 30% of the American people polled in a particular poll were worried that there was going to be future attacks. That concerned him very much. That's why he felt that the psychological conditioning to get people, on edge constantly is very important. Now, this distraction that keep people on edge all the time, to think that there's going to be some kind of terrorist attack at any given time, is counterproductive to a vision of the kingdom of heaven on earth and the establishment of goodwill and right human relations and the establishment of an active working on the physical plane between Christ and the church invisible and among men, among humanity, actively engaged and working together. This war on terrorism is distracting from the good, the true, and the beautiful that will manifest itself, but is being sidetracked and diverted by this dog and pony show, this war on terror, this unceasing, never-ending war that anybody can be a terrorist at any given time. If they're going against the powers that be, anyone at any time can be perceived as a terrorist. We are all potential terrorists in this country and in the world right now, and so that is very much a distraction from what's really going on. So I would really encourage people to get focused on what's really going on, even though, yes, there may be a big attack. They're telling us there's going to be one. They obviously have knowledge. They're obviously going to implement one. It's pretty evident that they're talking about it in that respect. But don't be sidetracked by it. Think about what's really important if you so choose, and that is whatever is important to people. But anything besides thinking about this terrorist thing, and besides getting wrapped up with being conditioned to be afraid and fearful that, oh, this next attack is coming at any time and I have to live my life cautiously, we have to get past that kind of thinking. I say live your life as if live it as if you always lived it before any of these events. We have free will, and to live free is a very important thing that many people have died for, many people consider very important. So hopefully many people out there as well consider that as just as important.